All right, so today I want to talk more about crazy lefties, and this is a topic that I've talked a lot about before. But anyway, this is from David Hogg. If you don't know who he is, he's kind of a he was I don't know if he actually went to the school or if he just was in the area, but the Parkland shooting, he was involved in that, and ever since then he's been out there as some crazy anti-gunner pushing all their ideas, and now he goes to Harvard actually, which um, I think he got in largely because of his politics, because if you look at his test scores, he actually was not all that impressive, especially considering going to Harvard. But nonetheless, he says this is coming from the last debate. Um, and he says, imagine calling the immigrant parents that bring their children to the United States for a better life coyotes. And he says the level of xenophobia is sickening. Now, for anybody who doesn't already know, a slang term for smugglers is coyotes, right? And anybody I think that's even remotely paying attention to the border situation at all should know this, right? You should know this, right? Like, and the fact that he either doesn't know this or does know, I mean, there's one of two situations going on. He genuinely doesn't know that that's what the term means, in which case he has got to be one of the most ignorant people that exist in society that have a position of prominence. Like one of the most ignorant people you can possibly like this would be the equivalent of him like not even knowing where Mexico is. Like something along those lines. Like that's just how ignorant you have to be to not know this. Or he knows that I think this is probably the case as well, but maybe not. I would say it's probably like 60-70% chance this is the more likely scenario that he does know what the term means, but he knows that the majority of his audience and the majority of left wingers are too ignorant and dumb, for lack of a better term. Again, I don't mean to be mean to people, but I'm not going to pretend that reality isn't reality. He knows that the average person that supports him and the average person that's on the left is dumb enough to fall for this, right? That the average person's dumb enough to fall for this. And I think that that's probably the one because, again, I don't believe that a kid with, however, he's got hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of followers, I don't even remember, but someone who has that prominent of a position has never Googled that or heard the term. Like, seriously, like, how have you never heard that? But anyway, the point I really wanted to get at here is that this is how the left works. This is how the left is so successful when it comes to politics. It's what I always bring up is that if there was a level playing field, the mainstream media was actually honest and objective, social media was actually unbiased, public schools and universities were actually unbiased, which all of them are incredibly biased to the left on to varying degrees. Some of them you'd say are slightly biased, some of them are so biased it's not even funny. But nonetheless, they're all biased. Like if things were actually even in society, like it was actually a level playing field, the left would get absolutely destroyed in elections, like absolutely destroyed. Like we would have like the all parties, all the left wing parties in Canada would probably have like 50 seats, like if that. But because things are so biased and because the mainstream media and all of these other outlets are so biased, they make up the fact. And not to mention, too, this brainwashing has been going on for, going on 2 generations, right? So it's really hitting a forefront. So again, that's what I bring up. But again, when you kind of flip the script, because the left has such an advantage, that's how they win. And they can do stuff like this because the average left wing voter, and again, like I always bring up, there is some right wing voters that are in this situation as well, but not nearly as many. The average left wing voter lives in a pretty big echo chamber for the simple reason being is that I don't think I've ever came across a strong left wing voter because I've seen some that are more actually center left, not pretend actually far left, but we're gonna say we're center left like NDP supporters. Um, some that actually don't live in echo chambers, and the simple reason that you can tell if someone lives in an echo chamber is very simple, in that they are well aware of the best arguments that the other side makes on some of these prominent issues, right? Like when it comes to gun control, when it comes to immigration, when it comes to any issue, someone who doesn't live in an echo chamber is well aware of the arguments that the other side makes. So again, there's other ways of being able to tell as well, but that's one of the main ones, right? That's one of the main ones. And a thing you constantly hear about these people is that they will always say, well, oh, I follow the National Post or some garbage like that, or I watch Fox News every now and then. Like, but no, that's not getting out of an echo chamber. Like, just imagine if you said, yeah, I live in a religious cult, and I spend 5-10 minutes every here and now, learning about atheism or other stuff. Like, no, you're still in the cult, right? And this is the thing too, that the way that the left does things, it's bordering on a cult. It's bordering on a cult for the simple reason being is that when you're in a cult, one of the main things that they have to do is shield you from opposing views. Because I mean, if you learn the opposing views, you'd probably question the cult. And it's the same thing on the left. They are deathly, deathly afraid of opposing views because their views aren't grounded in any form of reality. Because if they were, like I say, they would be perfectly fine entertaining opposing views. And this is the other reason why whenever you get in these discussions with them, why they immediately resort to calling you racist or whatever derogatory BS name that they call you, because they don't have an argument. And if they understood the right, they would know that name calling only amplifies their point of view even more, right? Like name calling only whenever I get into a debate with someone and they call me racist or any crazy name, whatever crazy name they call you, it just makes me more confident in my positions because the entirety of me engaging with these people, like when I talk to people who disagree with me politically, the main reason I'm doing it is not to try to change their minds because I know you're not going to change 99.9% of people's minds. The main reason I'm doing it is to find out, do these people know something I don't? Do they have an argument that's better than mine? Like that's the main reason I'm doing it. And the vast majority of the time, I find the answer to that is no. And not because I'm just some egomaniac or some garbage like that. It's because I've spent quite a bit of time coming to the conclusions or the beliefs that I hold. And not to mention a lot of that has been like views that vary very greatly from my own. So again, getting back to the main point here being is that this is how the left gets things done. And here's the thing, the fact that he didn't delete this tweet, just shows that he's that stupid. Like they're genuinely that stupid. Because if someone on the right did something that was the equivalent to this, they would have deleted it like an hour later because it would have made them look so stupid. But the fact that this guy clearly thinks he's still right just goes to show just how dumb and ignorant they are, right? And I mean, he did get ratioed pretty good on this tweet, and that's a good sign. Like that's a good sign that the most people still realize how crazy this is. But nonetheless, it's still a very crazy, crazy, crazy thing to think about. And like I said, the main point here being is that this is how the left operates. The left operates by manipulating people's emotions to getting them to vote for them, right? When it comes to immigration, what does the left say? Oh, you got to have compassion, right? You got to have compassion. Who cares that we can't, there's no possible way that we can afford these people. And the only way that we can do it is by raising taxes on people who are already barely getting by or running bigger deficits. Like they don't care about that. All they care about is the emotional aspect of that. They see some migrants that's suffering in their country, and they say, "Oh, we got to bring them here." But if you ask them directly, it's like, "Hey, okay, can we take money out of your pocket directly to pay for them?" All of a sudden, they change their minds. I mean, you look at all these celebrities. Look at all these celebrities that virtue signal endlessly. I mean, Justin Trudeau, namely, about we care about the migrants and all this garbage. But have they paid any money out of their pocket to help these people? Justin Trudeau's a trust fund kid. Has he paid any money out of his own pocket? No. I mean, the reason I'm very confident in saying that is if he did, I'm sure he would be posting it everywhere on social media because all the guy cares about is virtue signaling, So again, this is the entirety of their argument is it's entirely emotionally driven. It's entirely emotionally driven, which is why they always accuse people of xenophobia and all this garbage, which is a complete make-believe term, right? Like nobody ever accuses other races of xenophobia, even though the numbers are very clear that whites are of the least racist races on Earth. Like nobody ever points that out. Japan, they allow next to no immigration. Is anybody calling them xenophobic? No. Mexico has it in their constitution that they have to stay majority Hispanic. Does anyone call them xenophobic? No. Again, like Israel is heavily nationalistic. Does anyone ever call them xenophobic? No. Right? It's only bad when white people do it, right? It's only bad when white people do it. And that's what bothers me so much is that if we're going to have this crazy standard, well, let's hold everyone to it. And the reason they don't do it is because if they did, they would all of a sudden have to start ignoring the incredibly small amounts of racism that comes from whites in white countries and start worrying about the actual racism that's coming from other countries, right? So again, that's what I wanted to talk about today. So if you liked the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you check out those links in the description. Follow me on Twitter, BitChute, Parler. If you want to donate, you can do that as well. But like I say, at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already.